you're definitely pulling more G's on
Right.
that. With a airliner, you're normally those are built about 2.5 G's. And the F-16 was a 9G airplane. The F-4 was 8.5 G airplane. And we wouldn't go up to 8.5 G's in the F-4, but we'd routinely go to 6. And in the F-16, I'd go to 9 G's all the time.
What's the highest G you've gone to? 9?
Yeah.
What's that like?
Oh, it hurts. It's a lot. I would go up on the F-16, and one thing with all that pressure, you got everything is 9 times the weight. And so my 20-pound head or whatever it is, now weighs 180 pounds. I got the helmet on top of that, and also there's the pressure straining to try and keep the blood from pooling in your extremities, and so you don't lose your vision and don't lose your consciousness.
How would that happen? So I'm pulling 9 G's. What does my blood want to do?
Oh, the gravity wants to pull it down to your lower part of your body, your legs.
At 9 times the force it otherwise would.
Yeah, you have the gravity pulling everything down. You're pulling all your internal organs down, just pulling everything. And so in the Air Force, the fighters, they have G suits. And
what does that do?
So the G suits, they look kind of like cowboy chaps, where you put them around your legs. And there's also a bladder on your abdomen, and it's got a hose hooked up to it that you plug into the airplane. And in the G suit are bladders that inflate with air. And so as you pull the G's, these bladders inflate and they squeeze your legs, they squeeze your abdomen to try and prevent the blood from pooling down there.
Oh, so is it similar to when you go and have blood drawn?
A blood pressure cuff. So
Gotcha.
it inflates up in there. Same thing. Imagine that on your legs and on your abdomen.
Okay.
And then also there was a maneuver where we'd get there and tense our muscles and strain and try and increase our blood pressure in our body to keep it from going down. And you get there and if I remember, it's been so many years I'm done. I haven't flown fighters in 30 years now. I tell you, I figure it was an M1 or G1. I'm sorry about that, but you get there, you got strain.
You got to squeeze.
Yeah, you just strain your body, and
so the squeezing is basically in addition to what the suit is doing to you.
Right. Yeah.
So you're trying to get as much squeeze from anywhere you can take it from.
Just the entire body squeezing. Yeah, just to keep the blood up there.
And that will prevent you from hopefully passing out.
Right. Yeah, passing out's a bad thing. We lost a lot of F-16 pilots early on
because they passed out.
G-induced loss of consciousness. Because one thing about the F-16 is you could get to 9 Gs so rapidly that guys would get there and they wouldn't have time to really get into the proper maneuver to strain and resist the Gs, and they would just lose consciousness.
Wow.
And the airplane, you have that fly into the ground.
So I've watched some. I mean, most people probably have watched Blue Angel rides that they take passengers in the back, and you see the passengers passing out when they pull too many Gs. That's like brutal to look at. It's kind of cringy to see someone just pass out like that.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing to think that the pilot would do it. But then would you typically, so let's say someone passes out, would you typically wake up on your own, or does someone need to wake you up?
You'd wake up on your own, yeah.
How many minutes after?
It could happen just like a few seconds later.
When the blood comes back.
Yeah, but it just, if you're flying 500 miles an hour, it doesn't take long, to travel a long distance, especially if you're heading downhill towards the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not as much the pilot passing out as much as it is them not coming back to consciousness in time. Or it is a problem to pass out.
You don't want to pass out at all.
Gotcha.
Yeah, when you're flying, you don't want to pass out. The first thing happens is you lose your vision. You start getting tunnel vision, where you lose your peripheral vision and just kind of narrows down, so you're looking through a soda straw. So you get a little bit of a warning. And that's if you're doing a gradual onset of Gs. If it's really rapid, it could happen very, very fast, like I mentioned.
Wow. Is that part of training? Like they put you through it and you just need to try to not pass out?
Right. So when I got checked out in the F-16 before I became a test pilot, I went through a checkout program at Luke, learning how to fly the airplane, and with simulators. And one of the things they had there was centrifuge. And
what's that?
Okay, a centrifuge, they put you in something looks like a cockpit, or just a rudimentary cockpit.
Oh, and it rotates
and
fast
it's on
in a room?
big long arm, yes, and just spins you around, and you can get up to 9 Gs in that thing.
I've seen videos.
And so I have video of myself when I was going through my training. And you have to be able to withstand the 9 Gs, and I forget if it was 20 seconds, 30 seconds, something like that you're straining doing the maneuver and trying to keep conscious and be able to function. And if you can't do that, then you can't fly the airplane.
God, that sucks. So I'm assuming the G training is something they do semi-early on, because there's no point in spending money on training you just to later find out you can't handle Gs.
Right. With the guys that were, I say on the line, that's an airline term, but the guys that were operational in the F-16, I don't know where it was in their training that they got the centrifuge, but you're right, that was probably early on. I think.
Is handling Gs something you could train and get better at, or are you either naturally gifted with it or not?
Oh, you definitely train to get better. They would teach us how to do the maneuver properly, and that was one thing about the centrifuge training, was teaching you how to get there and do the maneuver and to keep conscious under high G.
So there's a way to get better at it.
And some guys are better at it naturally, than others, and so good for them. And other guys, if you were short, stocky, looked like a fire plug, then your body physically was much better at withstanding Gs.
That's
guys
so
that are tall and thin, not as easy for those guys.
So for you, it was a stretch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was not easy for me. I remember I've looked at those videos of me in the centrifuge, and that was hard.
But you got better at it. Eventually, you reached a point where it's like, okay, I could. Do you ever reach a point? I know 9 Gs is insane. Do you ever reach a point where you're like, okay, bring it on anytime 9 Gs, I got it? Or is it always like a difficult thing to stay conscious under 9 Gs?
Oh, you're always working at it.
Always.
Yeah, always working at it, yeah.
So you never get to a point where you're good enough and you go, I could handle it.
Well, you can handle it, but you're just used to it. You know what to do.
Got it.
Yeah. And so you'd go and you do the 9 Gs, and you do it enough, that you're used to it, and so you know how to sustain the 9 Gs on your body.
That's incredible. Yeah. Do you start squeezing? When do you start squeezing? Before you even begin turning the airplane, or during?
Right at the onset, just a little bit before.
Got it.
Yeah,
so you want to lead it.
Yeah, if you can lead it, it's good.